Hey y'all, welcome back, and welcome if you are new. My name is Sam and welcome to my channel. I have some easy and delicious weeknight meal ideas for you this week, so let's just get right into the video. We're going to start off this week with this delicious recipe. It's honey pepper chicken mac and cheese. It's like a copycat recipe. It's absolutely delicious. Now, I've made this recipe on my channel before, so I will leave the video in the iCards above, and I will also leave the link to the recipe in the description box below. So this is everything you're going to need. I've got some. This is almost empty, but I'm going to use what's left in this, and then I'm just going to open this. So you're going to need some pre-made chicken strips. For the sauce, you're going to need some brown sugar, soy sauce, honey, pineapple juice. This is just what I have left over from making smoothies, so I'm just going to use that up so it doesn't go bad. A lemon, which is on its last leg here, so I need to use that up. Cayenne pepper, some paprika, and some garlic powder. You're also going to need some salt and pepper. For the cheese sauce, oh, obviously you're going to need noodles for the mac and cheese portion of this, but yeah, I've got that there. This is just, I don't know what you call these. They're like the little spiral shells, so you're going to need that. For the cheese sauce, you're going to need Parmesan cheese, mozzarella, Colby Jack, a stick of butter. It is not healthy by any means, but it's absolutely delicious. You're going to need a stick of butter, some garlic, and 2 cups of cream. I had just under 2 cups, so I just filled it up with milk. It'll work just fine. So like I said, I've made this on my channel before, so I will leave it linked in the iCards and in the description box below. So I'm going to go ahead and make this, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay guys, here is my plate. I just have the macaroni and cheese here with the honey pepper chicken, and I just made a little side salad to go along with it. I've just got lettuce, carrots, tomato, a little bit of a ranch dressing, and some bacon bits. So that is what we're going to have for dinner tonight. Today, I'm going to be making a Thanksgiving inspired kind of dinner today. So we're going to start out with our chicken and gravy because it's going to go in the crock pot and it's going to cook for a couple of hours. Here's everything you're going to need. I've already got my crock pot here, or my slow cooker here, sprayed with some olive oil spray. I've got some chicken in there. It's frozen, but it'll thaw and cook down and get nice and tender. I've got some salt and pepper. I've got a cream of chicken soup here, a little bit of chicken broth just to help thin everything out. Plus, when the chicken cooks down, it's going to release some of that water that's in there. I've got some poultry seasoning and a packet of chicken and gravy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add everything into my slow cooker. I'm going to add my packet of chicken gravy into my chicken broth here just to help like mix it up a little bit better, and then I'm going to add everything into here and give that a little mix, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all combined. Alright, so I got everything in there. I just added the cream of chicken soup in there right on top of the chicken, and in a measuring cup I just combined the chicken broth, the packet of chicken gravy, about a teaspoon of poultry seasoning because it's pretty salty. I added just a tiniest bit of salt and some pepper to that, mixed it up, and then poured it in here and kind of stirred everything around. So I'm just going to put the lid on this and turn this to high, and I'm going to let this cook 3 to 4 hours. Depending on the chicken, it should be nice and tender and kind of falling apart when it's done. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up, take the dogs out for a walk, and when this gets closer to being done, we will come back in and we will make the cornbread loaf. and the pinwheels and the broccoli, so that way we'll have a good dinner. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that do its thing, and then I will see you back when this is done and we will make everything else. So my chicken and gravy is almost done. It's got about an hour left, so I'm gonna let that finish up. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and make my cornbread loaf. It's very reminiscent of chicken and dressing that you have typically at Thanksgiving and Christmas, but this is just in loaf form without the chicken. So what I've got going on here is I've got just a couple of loaves of white bread that I just cubed up, along with some pre-cooked cornbread that I've just got crumbled up in there. I've got some butter, celery, some green onions. I've got some eggs along with some milk, some crumbled bacon. You can do fresh or store-bought, whichever you have on hand or have time to make. And then I've got some chicken broth, salt and pepper. Now you're gonna need just a tiny bit of salt because this has salt in it. Plus you're gonna be using some total seasoning if you have it. If not, salt and pepper's fine. And I also have some ground sage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of butter to a pan, and I'm going to cook my celery and my green onions, and I'm going to cook these until they're tender. Should take about 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you back here, and then we'll move on and I'll show you what to do next. So my celery and my onions are tender, and I just added that to my bread and cornbread mixture here. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mix together my milk, eggs, and my chicken broth. Make sure that's all well combined. I'm going to go ahead and add my bacon bits to my mixture here. I'm just going to add some sage, a little bit of this total seasoning. I'm good on salt, so I don't need any more of that because I added some to the celery and the onions while they were cooking. So I'm just going to add some pepper. So I'm going to mix all of that together, and then I'll bring you back and we will put that in the loaf pan, which, by the way, I've got greased and lined with some parchment paper, so that's good to go. And my oven is preheated to 350 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here in just a second. I went ahead and just put the mixture in my loaf pan here, and I just cooked the spoon and kind of smushed it down a little bit just to make it even on top. And this is going to bake in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes depending on your oven at 350 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the oven, and while this is baking I'm going to clean up, and then we will start on the pinwheels. While the cornbread loaf is in the oven baking, it's still got a while to go. I'm going to go ahead and make the raisin and walnut pinwheels, and this is everything you're going to need. I've got some crescent dough here. Now you can use puff pastry if you want to. If you have the sheet crescent dough, you can use that. I've just got the crescent roll dough here. I've got some butter, I've got some sugar, walnuts, some raisins, a little bit of milk, and this is just to brush on the top to help it kind of brown up in the oven. And I've got some cinnamon, and that's all you're going to need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll out my dough sheet here and kind of pinch the seams together, and then I will come back and show you what to do next. Alright, so what I did was I just unrolled my crescent roll dough and pinched the seams together as best as I could, and then I just took a little bit of butter and kind of spread it on the top just in a light layer. I went ahead and mixed up my sugar and my cinnamon, so that's good to go. My milk is there. I've got my raisins and my walnuts here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of this cinnamon sugar and sprinkle it all over, and then we're going to top it with some raisins and some walnuts, and then we are going to roll it up like a pinwheel and then cut it into little sections. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then I will show you what it looks like when I get it all done and on the cookie sheet. Alright, I've got it on the baking sheet. We're not going to cut it right now, and we're not going to cut it into sections right now. We're going to bake it first. But first, we're just going to brush the top with a little bit of milk, and this is just going to help this brown up in the oven. You can do an egg white or just a whole egg if that's what you want to do. That is fine. So I'm just going to finish brushing this with some milk. And then I'm going to just pop this in the oven and let this cook for about 25 to 35 minutes until it is nice and golden brown and beautiful. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, I just took this out of the oven. This is the pinwheels. Now this has got to cool completely before you cut into it, so that way everything stays inside the pinwheel. So this is going to sit here and hang out and cool completely. And I've got my cornbread loaf here. Now this is still hot. I'm going to let this cool down just for a few minutes, so that way I can slice into it. And then I've got my chicken and gravy here. And I've got some broccoli right here. I just threw that in the air fryer and let it toast up. I added a little bit of this seasoning right here. This stuff is really, really good. If you haven't tried this, I highly recommend trying it. It goes on so many things. I will try to find this online and leave it linked down below. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a plate, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get it on my plate. Alright guys, so here is my plate. I'm going to show you the pinwheels when they get cool. So I've got some of the cornbread loaf here. I've got some of the chicken and gravy. I added a little bit more gravy on my cornbread loaf, and I've got some of the roasted broccoli. So that's what we're going to have for dinner tonight. As soon as the pinwheels get cool and I slice them up, I'll show you what they look like. Alright guys, here are the pinwheels. This is what they look like. They are absolutely delicious, super easy to make, perfect for any get together or Thanksgiving Day table, Christmas Day table, whatever you would like to do. They are absolutely delicious. I've got the rest of them here. I'm just going to let them finish cooling completely before I put the lid on. And yeah, dinner was absolutely delicious. I'm going to enjoy these, and that's all we're going to have for dinner tonight. Today we are going to be making my beefy ranch pot roast. It's on my blog. I will leave the link in the description box below. So I've just got done getting everything done and ready to go. So here is everything you're going to need. I've got my pot roast in here. I've already went and added some salt and pepper to it. Added an onion, some celery, carrots, and a half a stick of butter. For the seasonings, you're going to need some garlic, brown gravy, a Lipton onion soup mix, ranch powder, garlic powder. Like I said, I already added some salt and pepper. And you're going to need some beef broth. So I'm just going to add all of this in there and give it a little mix, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm just going to add in my broth right on top. And we're going to put the lid on, and this is going to cook for about 6 to 8 hours on low. And yeah, this is pretty much good to go. So I will show you what it looks like when it's done. Right before it gets done, we are going to make the corn cakes with walnuts and sage. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll show you what this looks like when it's done. Alright, so my roast is almost done. It's got a little bit longer to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and start cooking the, start making the corn cakes. So I've got everything pre-measured, ready to go. I've got some walnuts here. Now if you don't like walnuts, use whatever kind of nut that you like. It will work just fine. I've got some sugar, some salt, Now I've got rubbed sage, but you can do ground sage if that's what you have on hand. I've got a couple of eggs, melted butter, flour, cornmeal, hot water that I boiled in my kettle and just got that measured out here ready to go, and I've got some milk. So what I'm going to do first is combine my butter, water, and cornmeal. I'm going to mix it up really well, and I'm going to set that aside while it kind of absorbs some of that liquid. Then I'm going to beat up the eggs, the sugar, and milk in a bowl, and I'm going to add that to the cornmeal mixture. Then I'm going to add in the flour to the cornmeal mixture, as well as the sage and walnuts. Mix it up really, really well, and then we will get these going in the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what they look like.
Some big black clouds, the unavoidable is raining down. I'm fading out into an endless hole. When you come, everything just turns around. I get stunned by your drum. I follow you into the sun. Shoot a race like a shotgun. You gotta be my someone. Someone. Everything just turns around. I get stunned by your drum. I follow you into the sun. Shoot a race like a shotgun. You gotta be my someone.
Okay, so I've got this all mixed up. Now you want the consistency to be sort of like a thick pancake batter. So that is good to go. I've got some oil coming up to temp on the stove, so I'm going to get you guys set up and we'll get these fried up. Okay, so I've got my oil hot. Now I'm going to be using a 3 tablespoon ice cream scoop here because I want them all to be somewhat the same size. So all you want to do is just put them in your little pan here, and you're going to cook these up until they're nice and golden brown and cooked through on both sides. It should take roughly about the same amount of time that you would cook a pancake. So I'm just going to get these all done, and then I will meet you back here when they're all done. Alright, my corn cakes are done, and they smell so good. These are absolutely delicious. Now, I made a double batch of these. The recipe that I'm going to have on my blog, you can half or double depending on the size of your family, so keep that in mind. I'm going to freeze half of these. The other half I'm going to serve with dinner, so that way I can just pull them out of the freezer and heat them up in the air fryer whenever I need them. They'll keep in the freezer about 2 to 3 months. So we've got just a few more minutes left on my pot roast, and it looks so good. So I'm going to let that finish up. I'm going to let these cool down a minute, and then I will show you my plate. Alright guys, so here is my plate. I've got some mashed potatoes on the bottom here with some of the pot roast and veggies. I've got my corn cakes there, and yeah, that's what's for dinner tonight. This smells absolutely delicious. Alright, tonight we are having Southwestern chicken with scalloped potatoes and some corn. So what I've got here is my potatoes. I've got those sliced up kind of super thin, and I've just got them soaking in some cold water. I've got some milk, flour, onion, garlic, butter, some paprika, and a little bit of salt and pepper. So I've got my oven preheating to 375 degrees. I've also got an 8 by 8 inch baking dish sprayed with a little bit of oil spray, so that's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my onions, garlic, butter, and a little bit of salt and pepper to a skillet. I'm going to cook it up until it's nice and tender, and then I'm going to add my flour and milk, whisk that together until it's combined and slightly thickened. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will bring you back and show you what it looks like. And I also forgot to tell you guys, you're also going to need some shredded cheddar cheese. I just went ahead and pre-shredded some so that way I can have some on hand for this coming week. So we're going to go ahead and let our onions finish cooking, and then I'll meet you back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so my onions and garlic have all cooked up and got nice and tender. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my flour right in there. And let that cook up a minute just to get that raw, the raw flour taste out. I did add a little bit of salt and pepper to this, but you can add as much or as little as you like. I'm also going to add just a little bit of paprika. And now I'm just going to slowly add in my milk and let that cook up and get nice and thick. Okay, so I've got my little assembly line here. I've added half of my potatoes into my dish that I've already got greased. And this is my sauce, the remainder of my potatoes, some cheese, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper in between the layers and on top. So I'm going to get you guys set up, and then I will show you the assembly process.
We are who we are. Why don't I be me and you be you? We're spreading color around us. We're lighting up the sky, it's what we do. We shouldn't care about anyone or anything that brings us down. So come on now, let's be free. Just be yourself. Keep on doing what you do, doing what you do. Just keep on doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do. Do what you like, do what you like to do, do what you like, do what you like, do what you like to do. Ain't no one stopping you. Try to express yourself in your own way, and we could have some fun. No problems coming in our way. I would like you just the way.
Alright, here is what it looks like when it's ready to go in the oven. I just did half of the potatoes, a little bit of the sauce, some salt and pepper, a layer of cheese, and then I just repeated it a second time. So this is going to go in the oven at 375 for about 35 to 40 minutes covered. I'm going to use tin foil, so I'm going to cover that up, pop that in the oven, and then I will show you what it looks like. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up, and then we will start on our chicken portion. Okay guys, so the potatoes have been in the oven for about 15 minutes. I've got some chicken thighs here for my Southwestern chicken. It's just been soaking or marinating in some buttermilk. I just find that it helps take out some of that chicken flavor, but this step is optional. So I've got that going in there. I've got some spices here. I've got a little bit of everything. I've got some sugar, cayenne pepper, garlic powder, oregano, parsley. I've got chili powder, cumin, just a little bit of everything, and some olive oil. So what I'm going to do is take the chicken out, put it on a cooking sheet, and season both sides with the seasoning, add a little bit of olive oil, and this is going to bake for about 30 to 35 minutes just until it's completely cooked through. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up, and we will get this started.
Just keep on doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, what you do, doing what you do, do what you like to, what you like to do, what you like to, what you like to, what you like to do.
Okay, so this has been in the oven for about 40 minutes. I took the foil off, and it's going to go back in the oven for another 15 to 20 minutes uncovered, and then everything should be done. I've got some corn over there, and my chicken is still in the oven, so I'm going to put this back in, and then I'll show you everything when it's done. Okay, everything is done. I've got my chicken here. I've got some corn in the back. I just took this out of the oven. It is still quite hot, so I'm going to let this sit here for about 5 minutes or so and let it calm down, because as you can see, it's still quite bubbly. So I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes, and then I will make my plate, and I'll show you my plate when I get it all done. Alright, here is my plate. I've just got some potatoes here, some corn. The only thing I added to the corn was some of the Lawry's Total Seasoning and a little bit of butter, and I kind of let that warm through. I've got my chicken here, and I added 2 of these little corn cakes that I made the other day. And yeah, that's what's for dinner tonight. Okay, here is next week's meal plan. Monday, we're going to have crock pot easy spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread. Tuesday, we're going to have one of my daughter's favorite is a slow cooker creamy mushroom chicken with some rice and vegetables. Wednesday, I'm going to make chili with some sweet bacon cornbread. It's so good. Thursday, we're going to have a sheet pan dinner. It's autumn sausage and veggie sheet pan, and I think I'm going to make some rolls or maybe some biscuits to go with that. So yeah, that's next week's meal plan. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.